Right now at 10, changing policy, how a new WIAA ruling impacts transgender athletes throughout the state.
And protecting local students, the new technology being shown off to detect school shootings.
Plus, the race for state school superintendent down to 2 now, the main focus for candidates ahead of the election in April. It's all coming up on News 3 Now at 10. And good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eric Franke.
And I'm Sarah Carlson. We begin with a look at your forecast. It will be a slow climb out of these horrible cold temperatures for southern Wisconsin. Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington has more on that warm up.
Yes, progress will be made incrementally, very slowly, as Sarah was just saying, but we will get there. We will get there together. We got 7 degrees out there right now. Winds out of the northwest at 7 miles per hour. That makes it feel like -5. The good news is we're not going to be seeing the dangerously cold wind chills that we've been experiencing these past couple of nights and couple of mornings. It won't be cold tonight yet, but we're making our way out of this very slowly. 7 degrees in Madison, 8 in Middleton right now, so it's 7 and 8. So we got a 5 in the community of Perry and 7 in Belleville and 9 to the southeast in Edgerton. Across the rest, southern Wisconsin down to -2 in Vernon County, 1 in Platteville and 1 in Mineral Point. We do have clouds that will be around tonight, and that's going to help hold those temperatures up fairly close to 0 with those wind chills as you wake up to tomorrow morning, down to -12. But we're not looking at -20 or -30 or -35 below wind chills. So we're out of the dangerous mode for the wind chill factor tonight. And here's the progress. How about low to mid-20s Thursday, going into Friday near 30 by Saturday, 40s by Monday and Tuesday with some rain. We'll track that rain together in a few minutes.
Sounds good. Thank you, Alex. The Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association, or WIAA, has updated its policy on student-athlete eligibility. Executive Director Stephanie Hauser announced the board has voted to comply with new federal directives. That means only students designated female at birth are allowed to compete in girls' sports. The decision follows similar action by the NCAA earlier this month. Republican lawmakers who previously pushed for a statewide ban have praised this move.
Yes, I am elated. And I will tell you, we planned on reintroducing the women in sports legislation. I'm glad the WIAA joined the NCAA and used some common sense, keeping women's sports for women.
Now, in 2023, Governor Tony Evers vetoed a similar bill aimed at banning transgender athletes from participating in women's sports, and reactions are pouring in from transgender advocacy organizations around the state. Our Maddie Heim sat down with a local advocate to discuss the policy.
To use a sports metaphor, it's really unsportsmanlike conduct.
Brian Jukums is the Senior Director of Education and Policy at GSAFE, an organization committed to making schools a safe place for LGBTQ+ youth.
Singling out trans girls isn't going to make a tangible difference for school sports.
The WIAA doesn't keep tally of transgender athletes, so no one knows how many students will be affected by the new policy. But Jukums says that's not the point.
The number is likely very small, but I think what's really important is that, trans kids, like any kid, just really want to be part of a team, right?
In a statement about the new policy, the WIAA ruled that, quote, only students designated as females at birth will be allowed to participate in girls' competitions. The ruling mirrors a similar NCAA policy and an executive order by President Trump, both enacted earlier this month.
Adopting a rule that says you can't be part of that team, that's harmful to our kids, and that teaches the wrong lessons to their teammates.
It also repeals a previous WIAA policy enacted in 2013. That one read, quote, that denying a student the opportunity to participate on a sports team consistent with his or her gender identity is likely prohibited sex discrimination. But for transgender athletes, Jukums says this 2013 policy wasn't a slam dunk either.
It was already a bad policy.
He says that the previous policy, while appearing inclusive on paper, required athletes to jump through hurdles that essentially made sports inaccessible.
This new policy kind of gets rid of all those pretenses and just says we don't want trans girls in sports. So if anything, it's more transparent about what the intention is.
And that was Maddie Heimsch reporting tonight. In other news, a trial date is set for the man accused of killing a UW Whitewater gymnast. Online court records show that a 12-person jury trial for Chad Richards will begin in December. Richards is charged with first-degree intentional homicide after allegedly shooting gymnast Kara Welsh 8 times in August of last year. Richards and Welsh were in a relationship at the time. According to the complaint, the two got into an argument the night before. Richards claims that Welsh grabbed the gun first and that he took it from her before shooting her in fear of his own life. Richards faces a maximum penalty of life in prison.
A Wisconsin couple springs into action after an explosion at their neighbor's home. The adrenaline still racing for Tyler Lau and Stacy Kraft after the Racine home exploded just 2 doors down. When they looked outside from their living room, they saw the wreckage, knew they needed to take action, putting themselves in danger.
The windows were all gone, and we immediately just started screaming to make sure everyone was safe, and there was 2 people still in there.
I go over to the side, and there's this old man standing on the side of the house. I run over there, and this lady was trying to get out. I pulled her out of that window.
Well, the couple says the man and woman inside the home both suffered severe burns. The Racine Fire Department estimates the incident caused about $200,000 in damage to the duplex, as well as damage to nearby homes.
School shootings are something that no one ever wants to hear about or talk about, but there is some promising technology to avoid the worst outcomes. Today, shooter detection systems held a demonstration in Ithaca, Wisconsin. The goal was to display the technology aimed at alerting authorities of a gun being fired. After one failed first attempt due to a setup mistake for the demo, a second round was fired, followed instantly by the alert of an active shooter, showing just how fast this works. Richland County Sheriff Clay Porter says the system seems promising.
I certainly think it looks like a good product and a good program, and it seems like it's probably a good value for what they're offering us. I'm impressed by it.
Right now, the Ithaca School District is in the process of looking into possible grant programs or help from taxpayers in order to implement this technology.
The State Veterinary Board Committee opening an investigation into Ridgeland Farms veterinarians. Now, this comes after a Dane County judge ordered the appointment of a special prosecutor to look into allegations of animal cruelty at Ridgeland and a search of the farm earlier this month by both the DEA and the Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection. Now, the Veterinary Board Committee's investigation could lead to disciplinary action against 3 veterinarians at the site. The president of Dane for Dogs reacting to the news in a statement reading, quote, "We are glad to see the Veterinary Examining Board upholding veterinarian standards, now adding potential veterinary misconduct to the growing list of problems at Ridgeland Farms. How many aspects of Ridgeland Farms operations need to be broken before DATCAP revokes its license to sell dogs?" End quote. The next meeting of the VEB will take place on March 11th.
A jury has awarded $10 million to a Racine family nearly 6 years after their baby sustained lasting brain damage during birth. Monica Cerna says her labor wasn't moving fast enough, so doctors gave her Pitocin to speed things along. Now, this drug is often used safely to induce labor, but can cause lasting damage if not monitored properly. In court, a jury agreed with the family's attorney that standard of care with regards to Pitocin was not followed in this case.
It's an emotional thing for me to speak on because I love her and I wouldn't change her. I mean, I want her to have a normal life, but yeah.
It's totally preventable, and it's not anybody's trying to hurt anybody else. It's truly carelessness, negligence.
The jury's decision to side with the family in this case is significant. The family's legal team says that juries that typically rule in favor of hospitals and medical teams more than 90% of the time.
2 candidates are now advancing in the race to become Wisconsin's top education official. Either incumbent Jill Underly or education consultant Brittany Kinzer will be the next official to oversee public education in Wisconsin. The winner will have power over education policy, funding for schools, and teacher licensing. The fight in the race, in part, is taking shape around testing standards.
Jill Underly is unapologetic. She lowered the standards for our children and claims to have no regret about it.
And I stand by it. I'm going to be very clear. She's misstating the truth. It's a political year.
Now, state superintendent is nonpartisan, that race, but Underly is backed by Wisconsin Democrats. Kinzer being favored by Republicans. Both candidates are now looking to pull in Jeff Wright's more than 100,000 votes as their own.
In the capital, the state assembly is approving a slate of education-related bills now. One of the bills would essentially ban cell phone use in schools across the state. It would require each district to create its own policy with some exceptions like emergencies or in order to manage a student's health. We spoke with the bill's author ahead of today's vote.
The average high school kid spends 7 to 9 hours per day on the phone, which leaves them little time for schoolwork or socialization, and it really robs them of their ability to focus. We know technology is not going away, right? It's going to be with our kids forever, but we need to teach them to use it responsibly, and a big part of that is learning when to put it away when you have work to do. We know technology is not.
The bill was approved along near party lines. We'll also see the assembly take up a mandate to teach cursive writing in schools.
Well, when we come back at 10,000s, pray as Pope Francis is hospitalized with pneumonia.
And President Trump and Ukraine's president trade jabs. This comes as more layoffs are expected to impact federal workers.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Welcome back. President Trump doubled down after calling the president of Ukraine a dictator.
The comments come as the Trump administration continues its mission to reduce the size of the federal government. Erica Brown has the details from Washington.
President Trump continued his war of words with Volodymyr Zelensky hours after calling the Ukrainian president a dictator.
A modestly successful comedian, President Zelensky talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that basically couldn't be won.
Trump accused Zelensky of mismanaging U.S. aid to Ukraine amid the country's 3-year war with Russia.
Biden never tried. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelensky probably wants to keep the gravy train going.
A senior White House official tells CBS News the president's comments are in response to Zelensky, saying President Trump is living in a disinformation bubble. Here in Washington, the Trump administration is pushing a sweeping government overhaul to reduce what they say is wasteful government spending through the Department of Government Efficiency.
We're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt.
Elon Musk has got to go. On Wednesday, protesters and congressional Democrats rallied outside the Department of Health and Human Services in support of thousands of federal workers who were let go.
We're looking for a few good Republicans to come over and join the Democrats and overturn this radical assault.
So far, most Republican lawmakers say the cuts at HHS and in many other federal agencies are needed.
Our national debt's become a national security issue, and we understand that we're going to have to make some changes.
CBS News has learned more than 6,000 IRS workers are expected to be terminated by the end of the week. About 3,500 of them are expected to be probationary hires who, quote, were not deemed as critical to tax filing season. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
It's now up to a federal judge in New York whether to drop the federal indictment against Mayor Eric Adams. Justice Department lawyers have asked to dismiss the 5 counts so the mayor can devote his attention to carrying out President Trump's immigration policies. Critics say the Trump administration's intervention in the case means Adams will be under the president's thumb. 8 federal prosecutors have resigned in protest, and 4 of Adams' deputies say they're stepping down.
Pope Francis spending his 6th day in the hospital following a confirmation that he has pneumonia in both lungs. A Vatican source says the Pope is breathing on his own, not suffering from heart problems, and at times sitting in an armchair. Pope Francis is under strict orders to rest with no visitors allowed, but it is understood close aides are bringing him documents to review and sign. Outside the hospital, well-wishers are leaving flowers, lighting candles for the pontiff.
Even though we cannot encounter him directly, but I think to remain with him in prayer, that's more important.
I believe he's strong enough to get through.
I'm praying for Pope Francis. We came here to Rome to be near him. I hope that he can recover and get better.
Now, all of the Pope's public engagements have been canceled through Sunday as his treatment continues.
And dangerously cold conditions are expected to impact more than 60 million people across the country, the rest of the country, for the next several days. Flooding is known to have killed around a dozen people in Kentucky, and now the state is covered in snow with frigid temperatures. Kentucky's governor says at least 2 people appear to have died from hypothermia. Local outreach organizations are mobilizing to keep that death toll from rising.
We're all coordinating to try and cover as much geographic area as we can to make sure that people have enough supplies to keep them safe.
And flooding is still a concern. Kentucky alone reports more than 1,000 rescues since the weekend. And in North Carolina, Arkansas, and Virginia, they're all declaring emergencies to weather the snowstorm.
Amid the severe weather across much of the country, some drivers in Tulsa are doing what they can to make sure people get to their jobs safely. Bobby Edlin volunteers with a group called Jeepers Anonymous. They're Jeep enthusiasts who are answering the call from workers concerned about driving in potentially dangerous conditions.
I was able to help somebody that didn't feel safe or comfortable driving in this weather and to be able to get them to work and provide the services that they needed to others.
Well, everyone Edlin picked up yesterday was a healthcare worker. Well, here in southern Wisconsin, the alert day conditions are now out of the forecast.
And it's a relief as we begin to warm up from the bone-chilling temps. Alex Harrington has the details.
Yeah, slow progress. Slow is key here, but we will make it out of the depths of this polar grip here incrementally, step by step. We'll start with that step number 1 tonight here. We have 7 degrees outside right now. Northwest winds at 7. The wind chill -5. Now, we're not seeing wind chills of -20 to -30 to -35. So that's some of that progress that we're going to see tonight. But still cold tonight, no doubt. We have 7 in Madison. We'll just take 7 right down the highway to Cross Plains. 5 on the other side of the Wisconsin River in Sauk City. And up 151, we have 7 in Sun Prairie right now. Across the rest of southern Wisconsin, 3 right now in the Dells, 5 in Lone Rock, 1 in Prairie du Chien, down to 0 in Platteville, 1 in Mineral Point, and 7 in Janesville. Future track wind chills are making just a little bit of progress tonight. Dangerously cold wind chills are 20 degrees below 0 and colder. Now we're going to be approaching that, but not widespread across southern Wisconsin. So just a tiny bit of progress here in the wind chills. Tomorrow, still a very, very cold day with the wind chills. The feels like factor in the single digits to right around 10 during the peak heating, so to speak, during the day. But the actual air temperature will be warmer. I'll show that to you in just a moment. Then Friday morning, the wind chills will cut that in half. Single digits below 0 to around 10 below 0. So again, incremental slow change here. That cold weather advisory still in effect to the south and west, where the winds are a little bit stronger over the flat prairies in Iowa and far northwest Illinois. Here in southern Wisconsin, our winds are easing up, and because the winds are easing up, the wind chills won't be quite as dangerously cold. Actual air temperatures tonight getting down into the single digits below 0 to right around 0 here in Madison, and the clouds that we have, or periods of clouds that we have, are helping to hold the temperatures up just a little bit here. As we can see with future track, the white here, those are those clouds out there from 12 o'clock tonight, midnight tonight, going on towards 6 o'clock in the morning. Periods of clouds, and where you have the clouds, that doesn't allow the heat to escape out to space, so it holds our temperatures up just a touch. And then we'll have partly sunny skies on Thursday, and we will rebound temperature-wise as well. Temperatures we had today, we cracked into at least the double digits, into the lower teens. How about the lower 20s for Thursday? And it gets even warmer and warmer from here. I also don't want to lose sight here now. We are cold. We had snow just last week. We do have abnormally dry conditions across southern Wisconsin, to moderate drought conditions. And what about our chances for water over the course of the next 10 days? Water in the form of either rain or water in either the form of snow melted. Looks at anywhere between a quarter to half inch of water across a good portion of southern Wisconsin, and most of that will be in the form of rain. Here's why. 40 by Sunday, then we have the 40s by the time we get to Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, with high temperatures staying at or above normal for a change by the time we get to Sunday. How about that?
And coming up in sports, the special request from Mike Hastings on how he wants his team to celebrate the Badger seniors this weekend. That's next on News 3 Now. Right now, life is good if you're Greg Gard. Before the season, his team was picked to finish 12th in the Big Ten, and like they usually do, the Badgers quietly went about their business. Now, they're currently third in the standings. Last night, they demolished Illinois by 21 and have scored 90-plus points in back-to-back conference games for the first time since 1992. And while all that is neat, the guys say there's still more work to be done.
We got a lot of guys that are just willing to buy in every day and just keep getting better. And I'm proud of our success lately, and I just think there's more room to keep improving.
When you have a hungry group that's unselfish, they want to keep climbing too, and we haven't done anything. We have to keep pushing forward, and we talked about climbing the mountain early in the year, and we're still climbing.
Well, it was a big night for Greg Gard's brother Jeff as Platteville beat Whitewater to clinch his share of the WIAC title, but in the process, Logan Pearson became the first player in program history to reach 2,000 career points. It's a big weekend for the Wisconsin men's hockey team for a couple of reasons. It's their final series of the regular season where they're looking to snap a 6-game losing streak, and the Badgers will honor 6 seniors who will play their final home game of their careers on Saturday. And Mike Hastings is all for a senior day celebration, but he wants his guys to celebrate them in a different way.
If we want to honor those guys in the best way that we possibly can, it's to stay with them for as long as we can. And so that's to make sure that we play as deep into the season as possible. That's the best way to honor and show that group how we feel about them, right? Because that gives us another practice, another opportunity to be in the locker room with them.
Just a reminder to check out this week's Wisconsin Huddle with Lacey Eden. Show airs at 6:30 on Friday, right here on News 3 Now. And the University of Wisconsin Athletic Board approved 1-year contract extensions for Luke Fickell, Kelly Sheffield, Paula Wilkins, and Neil Jones. Fickell's football team finished 5-7 this year, while Sheffield led Badger volleyball to the Elite 8. And on the soccer field, Wilkins and the Badger women reached the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2021, while Jones had the Badger men off to their best start in over 2 decades. We're back after this.
Tonight, I tell you what, folks, have we tried deep frying the birds in bleach?
Colbert's all new with Robert De Niro and From Beyond the Gates, Tamara Tooney. CBS tonight.
All right, we are going into the 20s tomorrow, right?
20s, 10
it's
degrees
feel
warmer
so
than
warm.
today. Yeah, people will be in shorts tomorrow. Well, maybe not quite.
Somebody
that.
will.
Oh, they will.
Somebody will. Somebody probably will. And we will have people in shorts by the time we get to Monday and Tuesday. That slow climb, we'll get there. We'll be 30 by Saturday after our 20s tomorrow and Friday. 40s by Monday going on into Tuesday. It's going to feel pretty good out there in southern Wisconsin. Look at that. 45 Monday, 44 Tuesday, 45 on Wednesday. Almost was going to say 50, but hey, it's still time for that temperature to climb a little bit further. Normal for this time of year in the mid to upper 30s. So we go from this polar plunge. We've been on this ride so many times this winter season already, up to the 40s, which will be temperatures about 5 to 10 degrees above normal for this time of year. Enter some rain chances Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. As we get a little bit closer to those weather events, we'll be able to pinpoint exactly what time we're going to be seeing the best chance for precipitation, and if we could have a little bit of snow mixed in, but most of it's going to be rain this time around.
All right. Alex, thank you. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 10.
Have a good night. See you tomorrow.